And I believe, one moment. And we are live.
Yes.
We are live today with Dr. Lynda Loudon, and we're super excited to be speaking all about scaling and launching a business.
Pet business, that is.
Exactly, a pet business. And we'll talk about why that's important to make a distinction between that as well. So thank you so much, Dr. Loudon, for joining us today.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here with you guys.
So let's start with your journey into becoming an entrepreneur in the pet industry. You have spent many, many years working as an emergency vet in different clinics, but then you took the leap of faith and you started your own pet business. So tell us a little more about what inspired you to do that.
Yeah. There was two things that really pushed me over the edge into saying, okay, now I'm really going to do it, because it had been in my heart for probably a good 10 years. And I would try it a little bit, and then I would hit a roadblock and I'd be like, oh, it's just easier to go back to my day job. And so a couple of things happened. One was COVID happened, and I have two boys, 10 and 14. And COVID happened and I was home with them. And that was a huge eye-opener for me because, when you're in the ER, you're doing 14-hour shifts. I worked really long, hard hours. I ran large referral centers and internship programs. So I was very busy. And when I was home with my boys, I realized that I didn't have anyone telling me when I could see my boys. When sorry, I can't make that game because someone's telling me I have to come in, or, someone's dictating my schedule. And I was like, I'm not going back to that. After I had that experience with my boys, I was like, nope, I'm figuring this out now, that I will not miss another game. I will not ever not be here when they get home from school. I will be making breakfast for them when they leave every morning. And that just became a non-negotiable for me. So that was like my breaking point where I was like, I'm going to figure it out. And I think that for the things in my life that were big, like going to vet school, I never had an option B. And that's what it became, that there was no other option at that point. I was going to figure it out for my boys. And then the other thing that had happened, that had been happening over the years, is that being an ER vet, I have a different perspective, right? And I would see the sickest of the sick. And over these 23 years, I saw patterns I saw dogs' lives getting drastically shorter. I saw so much chronic disease. It was just every day I had a new diabetic that I was diagnosing, all these other endocrine diseases, cancer, just, dogs coming in earlier and earlier with cancer. And from my perspective as an ER doctor, I could see why. And it took me a little while to figure out, okay, first I figured out, okay, we're feeding them ultra processed diets. How can I be a healer if I don't know nutrition, right? So at some early in my career, I learned that. But then I would see all these puppies with over-vaccinated puppies, older dogs over-vaccinated for immune-mediated diseases that we would lose them to. All these pesticides, dogs coming in with seizures after getting flea and tick products on them. So I'm on the other side of, seeing these dogs come in from what they're getting in the general practice, and I'm having to treat them in the ER for what is being recommended. And nothing against the vets, because this is what we learn in vet school. And we get, it over and over again once we're out of vet school from the big pharma, from the kibble companies. So nothing against vets, because I was that vet when I first started. But as an ER vet, I could see those patterns. And I'd had one last case of this woman losing her 16-year-old cat due to vaccinations. I think I had told you guys about that story. And watching that woman drop to the floor when I told her, and I get goosebumps still saying it, I couldn't save her. I spent all weekend trying to save her 16-year-old cat who got 4 vaccines and should never have gotten. And I couldn't save him that weekend, and he died. And the look in her eyes, knowing that she made the decision to get those vaccines, ultimately led to his death. That was another breaking point for me. I was like, I have to reach a larger audience. I have to help change the standards of care for our pets. And building an online business was the way that I decided to do that.
That's amazing. I didn't know that came out of COVID. Actually, there's so many stories like that, and it's actually so amazing, especially for parents, to build their own online business and have that extra time with kids and be able to decide, like, what you do with your time. That's been, for us, like, I've always wanted to own my own business. I actually don't really know where that came from, but from a very young age, like, I was already like really interested in business and business developing and stuff like that. So yeah, I never actually really had a real job. So like, I don't actually really know what it's like to, like, of course I've had, like, bosses before and stuff like that, but it was never really like a career thing for me. So I mean, for me, the number one thing why it's so amazing to run a business is because you are in charge of your time and you can decide what you do when you do it. Doesn't mean, I mean, sometimes it's like you trade in your 9 to 5 to like a 24/7, right? But
sometimes you do, yeah. But
when you love what you do, it doesn't feel like that. So
exactly. And then you realize you're doing it, and then you set some boundaries for yourself,
Exactly.
and then you build a team who helps you. Like
Exactly.
I was in India 2 weeks ago for an amazing trip for myself. Now I'm in Vermont skiing with the kids. And I would never have been able to do these things if I was getting my 2 weeks a year off,
Absolutely.
So it's worth building your own business to be your own boss and get that freedom for yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I can totally relate to the I have, on the other hand, had employers where I actually had to, I was working at an airline, and it's a 24, like, it's 365 days a year that this business operates. There is no resting with this business. And I remember having to miss birthdays and holidays, funerals, and not being able to be around for Christmas sometimes. So COVID, I would definitely say, was a huge, huge push for so many people, because a lot of people were able to sit down and evaluate their life and see if they actually have the time to do the things that they truly want to do. And I know for a lot of pet parents, because they come to us and they ask us all the time, I want to start a business. How do I do it? And sometimes it's not that easy of an answer, right? Like, a lot of this really depends on their personal drive or wants to actually truly do the research and figure it out. So I'm excited for this topic.
Yeah, but it is doable. You just have to, and I won't go into it. I'll let you ask the questions, but it is doable as long as you know what you truly want from it.
Before we move on, Dr. Loudon, you have something on your wrist?
Do
like
I?
a bracelet?
No.
I hear something like jingling.
Maybe it's the hair on the microphone, because we hear something.
Okay, it's because I hear something like
Is
like
that
rat. Yeah. Okay,
is
maybe
that
that was it. Maybe it was the hair. Okay, yes, much better.
Yeah,
Sorry.
because when you were doing this, it sounded like you had like a jingling.
No, I actually took my bracelets off, which is unusual, but
Yeah.
yeah, I
All
use
right.
my hands a lot, so I'll try to control.
No, you can use your hands. It sounded like a bracelet with the
Okay.
microphone.
Okay.
I
All
think it was the hair, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Because
definitely
now
because
we
now we
don't
don't
hear
hear
it
it
anymore.
anymore.
Okay, good.
All right.
All right, so let's get back to like when you first started your business.
Mhm.
What were some of the biggest obstacles that you faced when starting out on your journey as a pet entrepreneur? And more importantly, also, how did you overcome them?
Yeah. Some of the hard parts were, figuring out the tech part of things. I just was never, I always had the thought for myself that I just wasn't good at that. When I try to build a website, or even when I would worked with a friend who was a web developer, and he would speak to me about the website, it was like a different language. And I would just like not take the time to figure it out. I would just like hand it over to him and just be like, I don't even want to hear about it. Right. So when I had to figure this stuff out for myself, I would get very frustrated because I was a great fit as an ER doctor because I like the quick fix. I like the quick answer. We would call it treat them and street them, right? So I'm not handling real chronic cases. I'm fixing them and getting them out of there. And I like that. So when I had to learn, and it was a slow growth, and I felt like, I'm an intelligent woman. Why is it taking me so long to figure these things out? I would get really frustrated with myself. And I think that we end up being too hard on ourselves when we're learning something new, and maybe we set our expectations too high for the amount of time we think it should take us to learn something new. And that was a big lesson for me. I learned patience for myself. I learned to switch my self-talk to be kinder and give myself more grace when I was learning these new things. And then I would also reach back into like, okay, where else have I figured things out in my life? Where else was I a problem solver? And I would gain evidence for myself and be like, shit, I'm a surgeon. If I can go into a surgery that I've never done before and figure it out, I can figure out an email list, like, come on. And then it would give me the confidence to then figure it out and move on. And that became actually the best part of this journey. I used to think it was the worst part. But now when I look, like that growth and that development and becoming the person I needed to be in order to make this work, it didn't happen as quickly as I wanted it to. But the journey of becoming that person and growing has been the best part. And now when I do some of these things, like this morning, I had to figure out all of this stuff in Kajabi in one of my funnels. I stopped for a minute and being like, damn, like if I tried to do that, even a year ago, it would take me an hour, right? And now I can do it. And so I would just say that to hope for people who are starting out and feeling that, accept that this is the journey and you're going to learn. It's not going to happen as fast as you want it, but enjoy the journey and the growth and just be in it and dedicate yourself and decide that there's not a plan B. You're just going to figure it out.
Absolutely. Like something that helped me when we were first starting our business was to think about like one step at a time. If you think about all the things that you need to do that are so important, and everything seems equally important, right? When you first start, it's so important to just write a list of everything, prioritize, say, okay, what are like the 3 most important things I can do today? And then take every day like that. And then before you know it, you're halfway there. So
And that is huge. Those 3 things. And I talk about them a lot because when you first start out, you give yourself a list this tall, and then you never accomplish that whole list. So you go to bed beating yourself up and thinking that you didn't get anything done. So give yourself those 3 main priorities that are actually going to move the needle,
Hmm.
and go to bed and say, okay, that's great. I did that. And know what tomorrow, and have a schedule, know what tomorrow is going to, you're going to be working on. Because and I've done this myself, when you wake up and you're just like looking at all the things you could be doing and you just go for it, it gets overwhelming and exhausting. And then you feel like you're working. You're on the hamster wheel, but you're not getting the results that you really want.
Absolutely. And I still do this today. I have like the top 3 things for the month, top 3 things for the week. And lately I've only been having one top thing per day, because like now the task gets so big sometimes. But like it does make such a big difference, because otherwise, like, I mean, our to-do list is never ending. So I can't think about that. I just have to think about like the top 3 things. That helps a lot. So
Yeah, it's so important.
what would you say were our like biggest biggest hurdles in the beginning?
I think I really want to say that before we started our business, like I really was just a dog dad. I knew absolutely nothing about running and operating a business. So I would say one of the biggest obstacles that I had to overcome is try to learn like the legalities of running and operating a pet store. And then I would say it's just really getting the information to be compliant with making sure, because for us, starting our business was in Dubai and that required importing products. So I had to learn a little bit more. And I would say it's just like getting the information and making sure that we were compliant, I would say was the biggest obstacle. But like you said, once you get the information and then you start checking off things, it becomes easier as you go. And then you learn something new. So for me, again, I knew absolutely nothing. I had to learn, the website platform, Shopify. I had to learn, pictures and all this other stuff. But every day you learn something new and then you're able to improve on it. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I would definitely say that when we first started, and even before we started, I was not great at too many things, but I had to learn and improve on it. And even this right here, podcasting and stuff, like I did not want to be in front of the camera. Like
No.
I didn't want to be on front of the camera. I wanted to be I wanted to be behind the camera and hey, I'll help. But then I was like, you know what, I can do this. And then you start little by little, do some Instagram stories. They go away after 24 hours, So it's like it's actually a way to practice, right? So I think
That's a good point.
yeah, like that's how I started. I'm like, okay, I'll do some Instagram stories. They go away after 24 hours and no one will even see this anymore. At least I hope so.
I love that. That's a great way to start. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I really think it's an amazing way to start, especially when you want to be in front of the camera and be more comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that is one of the biggest hurdles that I see for my students, is getting in front of the camera and being vulnerable. And it ends up being one of the best parts, because once you get comfortable with it, that's where you really make connections with people. That's where people really get to know you and love you and trust you. And it ends up being a beautiful thing. And you get to a point, and I promise you do, where you're like, you just don't care about the naysayers or anybody. At the beginning it's hard because you're vulnerable and you're not sure that you can do this. And when someone maybe makes a remark or disagrees with you, or maybe you don't do as well as you thought, it can really set you back. But the more you practice and build that muscle and walk through that fear and allow yourself to be vulnerable, that's where you are going to build your presence, your audience, and they're going to want to hear from you, want to follow you, and then they're going to want to buy your products as customers, because they feel like they know you. and it's going to be an easier decision for them once that they feel like you're a friend, or they can trust you, you're an authority.
Vulnerability is so important, and authenticity. And also, like, with that being said, I think something that also requires a mind shift set, especially in the beginning of starting a business, is to really embrace the fact that there are no mistakes, there's only lessons. And sometimes this can be really painful, the mistakes, or really costly, or set you back, or feel like you've lost time or something like that. But to really just embody the fact that, like, there's only lessons that you can take from this, and then again you can share that with your audience, or be vulnerable about that, and people will learn from that. Like, for example, in the beginning, when we started, actually before we ever started working on Podega, we wanted to pursue something in pet nutrition. And we worked on that for so long. We were so passionate about it. And we really were so into that. And at some point, after like 1 year of working on that business, we just realized we wouldn't be able to launch it with the ethics that we have. We wouldn't be able to create that product in Dubai with all the restrictions that there are and stuff like that. And we had to pivot. And that was really painful, because we were like, damn, we just spent 1 year on this, like all of that time, and it took quite a while to realize, like, okay, but that was only learnings. Like,
it was learning, so much. Yeah.
So, and to pivot, we've learned to pivot. We had to pivot quite a few times, actually, even within Podega. So, yeah.
Yeah. I've pivoted 3 times online already. I started out, I was a dog trainer before I went to vet school for many years. And so I was like, all right, where do I want to start with this online business? So I thought that going with training, and I had just raised my puppy. At that point, I was like, I'm really good at this puppy raising stuff, raising great dogs. That's easy for me. Let me do that. And I did that and went all in. And then I was like, actually, these aren't my people. I realized that I really didn't love the type of people that I was getting as my students. It was I just want him to stop pooping on the floor, and then I want to move on. I really wanted the people who were invested in their dogs, and really were going to go that step above. And so then I was like, okay, this isn't my passion. I'm not going to keep going on that, even though I did spend like a year on it. But I did build my audience. So it did help, and it helped me grow. And then I pivoted to, really going into holistic health. But then I realized the business part that I hated became my passion, and that will happen. Like, you'll be working on different things, and you'll be learning new things, and then you'll be like, wow, I'm talking about this all the time. And that's what happened. I was teaching my friends, anyone who would listen, I'd be like, you need an online business, and you need an online business. And I'd be helping my real estate friend, and I'd have small groups of friends where I'd be teaching them online business. And then I was like, okay, I want to teach this. And that's how I'm going to elevate canine care as well, because I'm going to uplift all of these holistic nutritionists and pet coaches and vets who I can get their voices out there if they know how to run an online business. And so, yeah, pivoting is okay, and it's not a waste of time.
Absolutely. I think we need to adjust the hair, or the.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Or maybe.
What if I just try? Can I try it without my headphones at this point, or no?
Yeah, or you can switch the sides, because I think on the other side is less hair.
What if I just, let me see if I have a hair thing. Hold on, let me just grab a hair thing.
Okay, sure, no problem.
Or can I try it without the?
We can. Oh, hold on. We can't hear you. You're muted. Thank you guys for hanging on. This is live.
Yeah.
I guess we can answer a question while Loudon is getting her hair. Why did you guys choose Dubai over your native countries to start your business?
She's there.
Did the benefits outweigh the setbacks? So, Larry, you want to answer that one?
Why did we start the business? You know, that's actually a really, really great question. Why did we choose to open the business in Dubai instead of our home countries? I would say, and we actually had to make this decision during COVID. So,
well,
we were just raising awareness as content creators. And we were helping so many people in Dubai, the city that we were living in at the time.
Yeah, we lived there because of your job.
Yeah. Sorry, I'll step back. Yes, I was working in Dubai as a flight attendant, and that's where we were living at the time. And while we were living there, we were raising a lot of content around pet nutrition and pet supplements and being able to help pet parents with their health concerns. And we had to make the decision and we knew we wanted to open a business, and we had to make the decision.
Well, we already almost were ready to open Bodega, right? So
Yes.
we took a year, it took 1.5 years almost to open Bodega, and then COVID hit.
Yeah. And then we had to make the decision, should we stay?
And then you got let go.
And then I got let go.
And then we had to make the decision, do we stay in Dubai or not? Because at that point we were kind of free, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then we chose to open our business in Dubai. I mean, there's a lot of benefits in opening a business in the UAE. A lot of the times there's for so many different areas within business, a lot of things just simply don't exist yet in Dubai because it's still a much growing city. And yeah, that's why we chose. But 4 years later, we did also open the store in America. So we exist in 2 different countries at the moment.
All right. Welcome back, Dr. Loudon.
Hopefully this is better. Does that sound okay?
Definitely, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Awesome. So you've actually created a couple of different solutions for aspiring and existing pet entrepreneurs to help them through their journey. And that includes the Canine Expert Academy, the Launchpad, and the Canine Leadership Summit, which are all really great solutions to help pet guardians build their careers in the pet industry. So what inspired you to launch these programs, and how did you help, and how do they help pet businesses? How do they help pet business owners succeed?
Yeah. So I started the Canine Experts Academy, which is my really intensive 10-week course where, and I started, when I first started it, then this is important for people to hear when they're starting to build courses. I sold it before I built it. So I knew what I wanted. I knew the 10 major pillars that I would have to teach in order to get someone from just starting to selling their first product. And so I knew what the content would be, but I wasn't going to wait until I recorded every module and then 4 months later, 6 months later, start to sell it. Right. So and also the other reason for doing that is you want to prove your concept before you spend 6 months developing it. Right. Because what if I spent 6 months developing it and then I sell it, no one buys it? That's a whole 6 months of not making any money. Right. So I would build the pillar each week before I would release it. Right. I would release this one, do my videos, release it to my students, build the next one. So I was always a week ahead of them. And that's how I started Canine Experts Academy. And as the years have gone, I've iterated, I've improved and gotten it to really where I want it. But it has really helped take those entrepreneurs who were me, and that's when you're thinking about who you want to help and serve. Think about who you were. That is the best thing that you can teach, even if you're just a couple of steps ahead of them, right? If you're that dog owner whose dog was on kibble and it got sick from the kibble, and you learned nutrition and you transformed your dog's health from feeding them a raw diet or a fresh diet, that would be exactly what you should be teaching, because it's fresh, you're passionate about it, and you know it, right? So that is how I started Canine Experts Academy, because I had taken a lot of courses, expensive courses, year-long at a time courses on business, and I left them really still having a lot of questions and having to do a lot of research on my own, more time. So I wanted to create the academy where they'd learn every single thing they needed in order to start that business. So that is the Canine Experts Academy, 10 weeks. They get live coaching with me every week. We go through each module so that we get you done with that module and whatever you have to create in that module before we move on to the next. Then I decided, well, you know what? I would really love to do a summit, and had no idea how to do a summit, and decided like 4 months before, I'm just going to do a summit and I'm going to figure it out, and threw myself into it. Don't really know how I made it work, but it ended up being a huge hit last year. It was awesome. And I wanted that to be my conversion event. And what I mean by a conversion event is where you're bringing in your ideal audience and you're giving them something of real value. So I wanted to bring, and if you know me online, like I am a huge believer in all of us lifting each other up. And so I wanted to bring in the top experts who are holistic and who are killing it, in order for them to share their insights, their secrets, their roadmaps of how they created their success. And that's, why I did the summit. So I would be helping uplift and continue with my mission, but I would be bringing my ideal clients in, because if they come in and want to be at the summit, they're all in. They really want to start their business. They're exactly the student that I want to apply for my Canine Experts Academy. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A conversion event could also be a webinar, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a really good first type of conversion event to do. They're really, really successful because you're bringing in people that you're showing them your expertise, and they're getting to know you before you sell them into your course. So webinar is a great conversion event. And then I made Launchpad, because Experts is more expensive. I did even drop the price this year because I want to get as many people into it, because I'm only teaching it once this year. But there's some people who the price holds them back. They have fear around that, or they're not ready to really be all in. And so they're a little intimidated by the academy. So I created Launchpad, which is where you get all of the modules of the academy, but you don't get my live training every week. Mm-hmm. So I could drop the cost for those who just weren't ready for the investment of the academy, and at least get them started. And then usually they end up being in the academy the next year.
Mm-hmm.
So
that is those are really, really amazing programs, like just for any pet entrepreneur to take part of. But it also is a really great example of how to successfully start a membership, and also courses and online services and stuff like that. So it's something that we have absolutely no experience in, because we're a product-based business. I have in the very beginning always thought about like launching courses as well, but we've we do so much content, like free content on our YouTube. Now the podcasts, like just haven't had the time, but maybe that's something that we could consider in the future if our audience has
and
something that.
yeah, and you already have the content, right? So those blogs that you're creating, those could be your course. You just, you're not recreating the wheel. You already have the content or your podcast that you can transcribe, and then you just organize it and put it into a course, or even just start with your webinar that would end up being a course, because a lot of times we will keep reinventing the wheel and keep creating more and more content where we have to really utilize the content that we already have and just, organize it. A blog can be 5 or 6 social media posts, breaking it up. Same with a podcast. And then my blogs, I also turn into, if it's, say, I just did a heartworm one, I'll give a lot of information on my blog, but then I'll turn that into a protocol where I give details and dosages and, full protocols of, okay, you have a heartworm dog, click below and get my full protocol for $9.99. And if someone really wants that information, it's worth $10 for them.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot of things you can do with your content to make money.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think talking about this, kind of repurposing the content that you've already created. What are your thoughts on artificial intelligence? How, is that something, what are your thoughts about that?
Do you use it in your business as well?
I do. I mean, he's one of my best friends now.
Yeah. Best employee.
Yeah. But I think what you have to be very careful in, I use it very strategically.
Yes.
I don't, because if you say, okay, write me a blog on heartworm disease, it's going to lose your voice, and and people aren't going to be pulled towards it because they could get that anywhere. So my writing is my writing. But what I will use for AI for is a lot of other things. Say if I do a Zoom or a masterclass, or even for coaches, this is a good one. If you are doing your coaching and you're doing it on Zoom, take that Zoom recording, put it into an app that transcribes it for you. Take that transcription, put it in ChatGPT. Those are your words, but just say, organize this into a summary for my client for this coaching session, and give very detailed things of what you want. I want to be friendly. I want to keep my voice. I want bullet points. And you get really used to using AI and asking for specifics. So it's these things that make things quicker for you that AI is really great for. You just can't use it for your writing and taking over everything else, because you have to be a personal brand in this space in order to stand out, because we all know the information. There's plenty of us who know nutrition and holistic health. And so you have to stand out, and you want people to learn from you. So you have to build that personal brand, and you're not going to do that using AI for everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And with AI, it's so important also to know how to ask questions, because you can't say write X, Y, Z. Like if you were to ever write something with ChatGPT, you would have to say, here's an example of my tone of voice. Now write X, Y, Z in my tone of voice. But still, then you can't a lot of the information that ChatGPT will give you is not correct. So you do need to know if the output is correct or not. So we don't really use it to write anything, but we will put the transcript into it and say, okay, summarize this, or create a, I don't know, like a YouTube title, for example, give me 5
Mhm.
options and list them in order of priority. Tell me which one will perform best and why. Like that's
Yes.
how we have been using it a lot. And sometimes like it says things that we would have never thought about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it can be great. Titles for your blogs, subject lines for your emails. Give me 10 SEO optimized titles,
Yeah.
you know, and then it gets to know you, right? And I've corrected it with holistic stuff. I'm like, that's not true, ChatGPT. Get it straight. And then they, I'm sorry, Dr. Loudon.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it does get to know you, and it learns from you as well.
Mhm.
So yeah, my chat is very holistic, educative.
And for someone dreaming of starting a pet business, what are the key things that you think they should be focusing on in the first 6 months?
In the first 6 months, my big thing is I love the word intention. And so make sure that you are very clear on what your intention for this business is. What is the ultimate goal that you want to achieve? Are you truly passionate about? What are you really good at? Like, what could you teach people right now without opening a book or getting another certification? Like, really get clear on these things before diving in, because you don't want to be, we talked about pivoting, but if you could get really clear on something that you're passionate about, that you can teach for at least a year, you want to try to do that before pivoting. So make sure you're not climbing up the wrong ladder, or that you're just working and you don't have that clear goal of where you're going, that direction. Then niche down. Like once you have like, all right, I'm passionate about nutrition. Well, there's a lot of us teaching nutrition out here. What is different about you? How are you going to teach it? What are you going to bring out in your brand voice that is going to stand out? And how can you niche it down so that you are the expert at that? So say you love nutrition, you're really passionate about teaching nutrition to canine guardians. Well, is there a breed that you really know well? Is there a condition that can be managed through food that you want to hone in on? Think of how you can really niche down so that you become that person known for that. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
And then you have to commit to mastering the business side, master marketing. Don't keep pushing it away like, oh, I'll learn that later, or I'll hire someone to do that. I remember Brendan Burchard, and if you don't know who Brendan Burchard is, you should if you're going into business, into online business. Like, he was one of my mentors when I first started, and still is. And he told me, he's like, if you can't delegate or hire a team and manage them if you don't know how to do it yourself. And I didn't believe him at first. I was like, no, I'm going to hire people for everything
Yeah.
because it's too much. And then I realized, no, he was right. I have to know marketing if I'm going to hire a marketing team. I have to know how to build my website if I'm going to have someone managing my website. And so really dive in and decide that you're going to master this stuff. Listen to marketing podcasts. Find the people who are crushing it. Take a course. My courses are great, but it doesn't have to be my course. Take a business course by a trusted leader in the space, and have that help from someone who knows how to do it. And then prioritize relationships. That is one of the things that really transformed my business. When I started, I would go on everybody who is a leader in our space, in our holistic integrative space. I was following them to learn from them. I was studying how they were doing their businesses. I was looking, you can go into Google ads, Facebook ads, and see what ads they're running. I was studying their funnels, but I was also looking at their content. What content are they sharing? I was always learning from them. And then I would go deeper on the content they were sharing. And I would comment on I would support them. I would comment on their posts. I would DM them. I would wish them happy birthday. I was building these relationships so that they would know who I was. So that when I had my first summit, they said yes.
Mm-hmm.
When I had this summit and I invited 20, they're all my friends now. And we elevate each other. We collaborate. We help each other sell products that we believe in. And that was a game changer for me. Relationships in this field, collaborations, is something you should start working on when you start your business.
Mm-hmm. And I think that and for people that are listening to you and maybe they're just a pet parent, I would definitely say that also pet parents can do the very same thing. That's exactly what we did.
Absolutely.
We started, honestly, also, I want to give a little bit more information as well before we started. We started basically on Instagram, and the Instagram was Milk of the Frenchie. It was literally a dog page. I know so many people that are creating content under their dog's name. That's literally how we started. We started raising awareness and content under our dog's name, and we started reaching out to, so many different people that we looked up to, and then we established those relationships, and then we felt more comfortable, talking to professionals. So I think no matter where you are in your journey, especially as a pet parent, you can still make these
Absolutely.
connections with veterinarians, other pet health professionals in the field if you're looking to create a pet business.
Absolutely. And all of the dog, I have my Dog Mom Society as my membership as well, where I support dog guardians. They are my raving fans and some of my best friends now. They did the same thing. They followed me, they commented, and I got to know them through social media. And yeah, so absolutely, it's for everybody. It's a strategy for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Also, if you do have the chance, if you're in the pet wellness space or you want to build a business in the pet wellness space, if you have a chance to visit some of the events that are happening in person in America, especially, those are great networking opportunities. There's so many pet business owners there and pet parents and everyone, all the people basically that you want to have in your circle are there. So
absolutely, that's a great point. Yeah, going to one of Dr. Judy's seminars was one of my first, it was huge for me. I was friends with Dr. Judy after that, and Michelle Allen I met there, who's one of my best friends now, and just being around the people who get you and get the same things that you are passionate about is so powerful.
And are there any specific challenges that set the pet industry apart from other industries? What makes the pet industry special in some ways, and what should aspiring pet business owners be prepared for?
I think, if we're talking about our holistic space and integrative space, I would say one of the challenges is that although all of us have the same mindsets and thoughts around canine or pet health in general, feeding fresh food and not over vaccinating and sticking to more holistic practices, but we are the minority in pet health in general. I don't think I know we won't always be that, but sometimes feels like an uphill battle because there's going to be people who will disagree, who are still in the mindset of kibble is best, sticking to vaccine schedules that are outdated and things like that. So that can be a bit of a challenge. I know it was for me at the beginning. And then once you become more, more people in the space, then you feel a little bit like protected, right? You're in around with people that you trust and who believe in what you're saying. But in our area, I think that's one of the issues that you're going to face, is people saying that what you're not believing, what you're teaching. Yeah. What about you guys? What do you think that have you guys had any challenges that you feel are specific to our niche?
I think going along the same lines and a challenge as a pet business owner, especially as a pet store who tries to, or whose mission it is to only offer the best and, make sure that it is completely safe and non-toxic. When we scout new products, or especially in the beginning when we did that, it took us so long to figure out which products are really safe and natural, because everything nowadays, you go in a pet store, every single kibble says it's supposed to be natural, right? Or like every supplement says holistic or natural. So and then you turn it around and then it's all these vitamins added, and then
or filler
just
ingredients.
Sorry?
Or filler ingredients.
Yeah. And then also the filler ingredients actually are a big problem as well, because you have to figure out, okay, why are companies adding this, and what purpose does it have? Does it have any negative health? Yes.
Yeah.
What's it called? Negative health
effects.
Okay, I'm missing. Yeah, effects, exactly. So that was, I think, our biggest challenge when we started. Yeah, like figuring it all out as far as just deciphering the terms, and also things like pet labeling laws, actually, like when it says, I don't know, chicken dinner on the front of the bag, that means it only has to have what, 3% or 5%? 25?
25%. If it says with,
Yeah.
If it says with chicken, then it's 3%.
Yeah. So like, how are you supposed to know all this?
It's a lot.
So,
yeah. And I do feel that my students do feel overwhelmed they feel like they have to know everything. And you don't, especially coaches, right? They'll be like, I'm nervous. I'm going to get on a call and I'm not going to know an answer. Well, one of the solutions to that is niching down to what you're comfortable with and what you already feel that you really know well. And then expanding. Because I have a lot of students who will be like, oh, I'm going to get this certification. I'm going to get this certification. And they're getting all these certifications before they're making any money. And because they feel like that's going to build their confidence that they're maybe not ready or they're not an expert yet. And I would say, get the one certification that you need around the niche that you really want to teach, and then niche it down even more so that you're only teaching something that you're very comfortable with, and then build on it and be organized. Know that, master it, go deep on it. When you're not coaching, you're reading about it. You're listening to podcasts about it so that you're becoming that expert. When I first started coming into the holistic space or wanting to share my information online, I was a vet for years and years. And I still felt like, oh, I want to make sure that everything's perfect and that, all the information is absolutely correct. So I would be up at 4 a.m. before my job, writing my blogs and researching. And that is where I gained my confidence and really up-leveled my expertise. And so find the way that is going to work best for you. Maybe it's listening to podcasts or watching videos, or maybe it's writing and researching. Find the way that's your best way that you learn in order to really master what you're going to teach. But don't wait until you have it all perfect, because too many students wait until they have, and then they either never do it because they're like, I'm never going to make money, or they spend all their money on all the other certifications, and then you're generalizing yourself too, because again, you have to stand out in the market and you have to have a niche.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And let's talk a little bit more about marketing and staying competitive in the pet industry, because the pet industry is as competitive as ever. So how can new businesses, but also businesses who want to scale, how can they stand out?
Well, one, like we talked about, is creating your personal brand and really focusing on that and making your brand recognizable, where people know who you are, they get to connect with you. So personal brand building would be number one, I would say. And then building multiple revenue streams, like a membership. A membership is a great way in the online space to have reoccurring income every month. Because a lot of times, if we're building courses or coaching, that can be cyclic. Like, okay, I've got some coaching clients and now I don't. Or like my academy, I'm launching it once a year. Well, what am I doing the rest, in between my launches? I have a membership where that's regular income every month. And I go into membership in the academy where anybody could start it tomorrow. You don't need a platform. You have Zoom, you do a Zoom once a week, you figure out the audience you really want to serve. So offering memberships. And then if you're a product-based business, like you guys know better than I do, bundling products, offering subscriptions, having exclusive deals, different times during the year is going to help you. Personalizing things where you can offer people exactly what they need for their dog, that's customized. That helps you stand out than just something that they can get from anybody. And then just building that customer loyalty is huge. Let them get to know you, show up amazing for them. I think one mistake we make is that we spend a lot of time trying to build our audience and build our following and add to our email list. Email list is huge, but we forget to nurture the people who have already shown up and raised their hand that they like us, they trust us, and they've bought from us, or they're at least already been on our email list. Nurture them and make them a priority, because those are the people that are going to become your customers. Yes, you have to keep adding to your email list, but don't forget about those people who have already raised their hand. Don't spend too much time on the people that you're trying to pull in without nurturing the people who already like you and trust you.
That is so true, especially, some people will think, oh, I only have, 500 followers on Instagram, and see that as a bad thing. But imagine having 500, filling a room with 500 people and talking to these 500 people. That's a lot of people. So if you really focus on nurturing those 500 people, that's a huge audience that you can serve. So
for sure. And then talking about scaling, you want to think about the things. One, right now you should be making systems and processes of what you're doing. Like every time I do something new, say I'm creating a funnel in Kajabi, I create an SOP, a system for that in Google Doc, and write down exactly what I did in order to create that, so that when I hire someone for that, I can just hand them over that SOP and say, here's my standard operating procedure for this. Here's a loom. Loom is something where you can just go on and record what you're doing on your screen.
I love it. Yeah.
Loom is amazing. So I can just also add a loom of click this is how I do this. So even if you're not ready to hire people, build your systems now so that you're not scrambling. Okay, now I'm ready to hire someone. I've got to make SOPs for everything I've done up until now. So every time you learn something new, make an SOP for it and label it SOP and then what it is so that you can search it in your Google Docs.
That is pure gold. And I wish someone would have told me this when we first started the business, because we did have to do everything from scratch once we hired someone. And it was so time consuming. And it's like, you want to spend, like, you're hiring someone because you can't do all the tasks by yourself anymore. And now you have to do this huge task of like creating all these standard operating systems and or procedures and like documenting how you do everything. And I always tell you to do it.
I know. I'm just like dreading it. Like I know I have to do it. And you know what, things like this, like meetings like this, is like, they are reminders, It's just like, yeah, you know what? You're right.
Thank you, Dr. Loudon, for telling him this.
It's like I have so many things that I do on a daily basis or weekly basis or monthly basis, and it's like, I don't want to write it, but it's just like, but
it's a gift to your future self, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And also like just outsourcing things, like it's so much easier when you have these procedures written down. It's so much easier to just say, you know what, I can outsource this right now already. So
and just go on Fiverr or something like that and hire for things. And that's something that you can do early on. That's how I started hiring. Okay, I just need someone for this task. Or when I had my summit, I just hired people my first year just to help me with the summit. Just contracted them out for that to get me through that launch. And that's a great way to start hiring people, because you don't feel as overwhelmed about the financial end of it, because it's just for that one piece and for that time. And then as you go, you can be like, oh, like the person that I hired as a contractor for the summit last year, now I just hired her as a full-time employee as well for my social media management. So I got to know her last year, and now my business is ready to hire her full-time, and I know her work. Now I can bring her on. So it's a great way to start.
Yeah.
And can you share a success story from one of your clients who transformed their pet business through one of your programs?
Sure. One, I think, who is a great example is my one student who just finished the academy. She is a bulldog breeder and also a nutritionist. And she's just one of these go-getters, hardworking. She has her own business that she's running, that she's trying to leave and start her online business, which is her passion which is her bulldogs and nutrition and elevating canine health. And she was struggling a little bit at the beginning when she first came into the course, because she felt like, how am I going to stand out? Because she was just trying to teach nutrition to all dog guardians. And the more I got to know her, I was like, and she still won't call herself an expert, but she is. We will get there. But I was like, you are the bulldog expert. Bulldog people understand bulldog people. And they have the most health issues. I mean, they keep veterinarians in business. So, so you can be that go-to bulldog expert. Niche down, and just like we changed her logo, we changed the name of her business. And now she's got this beautiful business, a gorgeous website that is just about bulldogs and elevating their health through nutrition. And her business is just taking off. She's going to be a huge success because
That's
she's going to be that person who's known for bulldogs.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That
Yeah.
is awesome.
And it's just that one little twist, niching down, that one little step more, that it can be huge. I also had a student, sorry, this is another really good one who I love. She was teaching about separation anxiety and how separation anxiety and the gut were related, and how to fix anxiety in dogs through the gut, which is amazing. And that's already niche down. But she kept talking about her passion for shelter dogs. And shelter dogs, they come out of the shelter and their microbiome is a disaster. And it's really sad because it sets them up for failure, because they come out, they're stressed. They've been in a stressed environment that affects their microbiome. They've been given all of these excess and dewormers and antibiotics that's wiped out their great bacteria in their microbiome. They're fed the cheapest kibble, understandably, everyone's trying to, survive. And then they come into a house where people expect them to adjust quickly and want to be the perfect dog. And these dogs are just fighting against all of these things against them. And so I talked to her about, how about you niche down even more? You're so passionate about shelter dogs. And a lot of us in this space won't even adopt a shelter dog because we know how they're affected, that they've already had all of this stuff we would never give. How about you create a program where you talk about fixing the shelter dog's microbiome and anxiety, and how both of them will fix each other? And that was huge for her. And now she's so confident about it and psyched about it because it is her true passion. So I had to share her story too, because I love that one too.
That is an amazing one as well. And actually something that I think a lot of people who start businesses struggle with is the thought of, or the fear of niching down too much.
Mm-hmm.
So those were also great examples of how you very niche down, or how they niche down a lot, but still they're, hopefully going to be successful, but they've got a lot of passion in that very niche range.
And
So,
when they talk about that stuff, they're going to be talking directly to those people. They're going to know that that's my person that I need to learn from, instead of just talking to the broader audience.
absolutely.
And it's so effective.
Did you want to add anything?
No.
Okay. So the Canine Leadership Summit is coming up in about 2 weeks, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And Larry and I are actually going to be speaking at the summit, which is super exciting. I'm actually even more excited now after we've done this live, because it's just so much fun to talk about, our learnings that we have had throughout the last 5 years running this business. So I can't wait. But for anyone watching, can you tell them why should they join, and also the dates and anything they need to know about the summit?
Yeah. The summit we have a special VIP session February 28th from 7 to 9 at night, which is going to be really fun. And then March 1st and 2nd, we're all day, 10 to 7. And we have 20 speakers, the top in the industry, who have built successful businesses, are going to speak 45 minutes each and give you their insights. And last year, it was just incredible. Like we had so many people engaged and telling us it was the best summit they'd ever been to. It's not like any other summit, and it's not free on purpose, because it's not. Some people have been disengaged about, there's so many health summits in this space. This is different. This is speaking to the entrepreneur, the dedicated dog guardian who wants to take their knowledge and create a business, the experts who are creating businesses, but they really want to reach the next level. So it's not your regular health summit. This is about business and about elevating canine health through all of us collectively. And it's fun. Like, we have giveaways and there's music, and it's not your regular summit. We have a blast. And I would, if you're thinking that you might want to start a business or you want to take it to the next level, it's a no-brainer. You can't miss this.
Yeah, that's
And
amazing.
it's live. Everyone keeps saying, is it recorded? It's not. Like, there's only 2 speakers who are recorded because they're out of the country. The rest, everybody's live.
Yeah, that's amazing, because I think about it, before we started our business, we started doing our research back in like 2018, and there was nothing like this at the time. And we were, yes, meeting holistic vets, but we had to learn everything ourselves. And it was just like the information was just spread out all over the place. But I would say I see so many pet parents today, they're creating the content, and I totally think that they should try to monetize what they're doing, and they have every right to monetize that, because they're independently helping so many different people. So I think this event is going to be so amazing, especially for people like this, right? Like, they genuinely want to monetize their passion. And I think that's like, anytime you can monetize your passion, it just makes it so much more fun.
It does. And it can open up so many doors for you and give you the freedom that you really want. And there's no ceiling on the amount of money that you can make. And, we're all like healers and health and givers. And sometimes, and that's a huge problem I see with my students, is they don't want to charge. They feel bad charging. And you have to get past that, because in order for you to reach the level of impact that you want to create in this space, you have to charge for it. You have to have that coming into your business in order for you to reach the next level and the next level. And so don't ever feel bad about charging. And I charge for my summit, even though most summit these days are free, because I want you to know that it's valuable. And I want you to have some skin in the game, because I want you to show up. I want you to show up, because if it's free, they'll be like, oh, I don't have to show up to that. I didn't put any money into it. If you pay for it, you're going to show up, you're going to pay attention, and you're going to get what you need out of it.
Yeah. And what's also amazing about the summit is that actually you have speakers such as ourselves who have a product-based business, but we're not manufacturers. Like, we're pet store owners at
But
the
we're pet
simplest
parents
terms.
at the end of the day as well.
Sorry?
But we're also pet parents.
Yeah, of course. But the summit is about pet businesses, right?
Yeah, but we're pet parents that started a business, but it's also up for other people.
Yeah, but my point is, we're product-based business. Then you also have other product-based businesses that are manufacturers, and you also have service-based businesses there. So something that I have struggled with in the past is that a lot of marketing advice and a lot of the business advice that's out there is mostly for service-based businesses. It doesn't apply to like product-based businesses. So you have a mix of everything in the summit.
Yeah, I wanted something for everybody, and it's all different possibilities of revenue streams for you to consider when you're building your business.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think we answered all the questions, right? Oh, and for everyone watching, I did put the links in the comments to the summit and also to Dr. Loudon's other programs. So definitely check them out with the links there. Darren said, I need a course or information on helping a Frenchie walk again after sudden lower body paralysis.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah. I think, Darren, if you're still here, I think you might have watched our YouTube video on our Frenchie's IVDD experience, but definitely maybe reach out to some holistic veterinarians that offer consultations, like Dr. Katie Kangas, for example. Dr. Loudon, do you offer online consultations still?
Not right now, not for that,
Okay.
no.
Yeah.
But you know what, Sarah, hold on, let me get her.
And yeah, that was it. That was
Sarah
all
Sarah
the
McKeegan is really great. She does online.
okay.
So I'll
Yeah.
just put her. My computer's being
Entrepreneur.
weird. Do you know her? So if we could just
Yeah.
put her
Yeah.
here, I'll put it in my chat. That's her name. If you look her up on Facebook or Google her, she does a lot of great stuff with paralyzed dogs and is a great resource. She can do an online consult.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Thank you so much for taking the time today to talk to us about how to start a pet business. And anyone watching, if you're serious about starting or growing your pet business, definitely check out the Canine Leadership Summit that's happening in 2 weeks. And also check out the Canine Academy from Dr. Loudon and the Launchpad. And thank you so much, Dr. Loudon.
This was awesome. Thank you so much. You guys have been great. You guys are you really epitomize the helping each other and supporting each other. You know, with this summit, you're posting and just always involved with it. And I just wanted to thank you guys. I'm so glad to call you guys friends and look forward to collaborating together in the future.
Us too. Thank you so much.
Same. It's been really amazing. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you everyone for watching.